What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the newest edition of the Nick Beasley Show. If you guys are on Spotify and you can't see him, the sports god RJK Forever is back. Rodney Knight, he came in for a little special tonight, all NBA. And since I like the NBA, but I am not the biggest insider on the NBA. Rodney knows more about it than I do. I had to bring my boy in to talk about the NBA. So let's start off with what everybody's going to say is the first subject we should start off with, which is go to elephant-ink.store for official Nick Beasley Show merch. Guys, we have hats, we have t-shirts, and we've now added polos. And guys, the hats have a new design and the polos have the same design. It's NBSN, Nick Beasley Sports Network, on the hats and the polos. So make sure you go check those out, guys. The best polos, best hats, best t-shirts you're ever going to find. But let's get into the real first subject that everybody's going to want to talk about. LeBron James and his future. Now, real quick, let's set the table. The season ended when the Knicks won the championship. As soon as that happened, the next day, teams were able to negotiate with their own free agents to try to keep them. The Lakers, to everybody's knowledge, have yet to negotiate with LeBron because LeBron, if you follow him on social media, dude's playing golf in Ohio. He is not paying attention to anything going on in LA. He don't care. He's chilling. He went on a trip with the 2016 Cavs to reminisce about their championship. If you follow him on IG, you've seen all of this. Now, there's two big key points here with LeBron. One, Rich Paul is his agent. And everybody knows that Rich Paul and Clutch Sports basically run the NBA. The other key part is Bronny James. The Lakers have the option to pick up his player option today, which would have made it $2.9 million, I think, on his contract for next year. I have not heard yet if they picked it up or not. I haven't seen it. It hasn't been reported. I don't think that they would, because if they don't, they only owe him like $1.8 million for next year. And obviously, with him being behind Luka, behind AR, I don't, probably behind Dalton Connect, as far as the scheme fit, I don't see them paying him that money. I could be wrong. They could pay him a ton of money. But I think with LeBron, one, how are the Lakers going to treat his son? And then two, for LeBron, is it more, I want to go get another championship, I want to get that fifth ring, I'm one behind, so I can be one behind Jordan? Or is it, I really like LA, I'm building a home here in LA, my family's here, my son's on the team, I want to stay with the Lakers and make a ton of money. Because the Lakers could pay him a ton of money. Now, over the last 24 hours, it's been reported that the Warriors are trying to, kind of coax LeBron to come to the Warriors to team up with Steph and Draymond, including possibly trading for LeBron James's old teammate, who he loves, Anthony Davis, who is also represented by Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Draymond Green had a 27.9, I believe, player option that he declined, freeing up cap space and freeing up money for LeBron to get about $15 million from the Warriors. Guess who Draymond's agent is? Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. You see where I'm going with this? They're all fitting into Rich Paul. Rich Paul is running this whole situation. Now, this could end with, excuse me, this could end with LeBron getting paid and staying in LA. This could end with Jimmy Butler staying on the Warriors. This could end with Draymond Green getting $27 million anyway. And this could end with Anthony Davis getting the extension he wants from the Wizards. But if somehow they're able to pull off a trade to get Anthony Davis, I think LeBron would sign with the Warriors. Now, if you were telling me this in 2016, I'd say, yeah, absolutely, do this. You're telling me this in 2026 and he's about to be 42. He's still a great player, but is it really worth the risk with the injuries? I don't think so. Rodney, now that I've laid out the scenarios here, what do you think happens with LeBron? Where do you think he goes? Do you think, because I've seen this, he could go back to Cleveland?
Well, my opinions with this LeBron situation. So obviously, the offseason, there were three teams that I said that would be the fair choice for LeBron. Now that he's a free agent, he can re-sign with the Lakers, but there's one problem: is Rich Paul has completely said, represent LeBron, that LeBron is not going to take a pay cut. Because remember, and Austin Reeves signed a 4-year extension with the Lakers, and I believe the contract, was 128 exactly. I could be wrong.
I think so. Let
So,
me look it up.
so, and Rich Paul said that LeBron is not going to take a contract. So that's option number one. Option number two is obviously is if this is indeed LeBron James's final season in the league, then he would probably want to go home. And obviously, home is Akron, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. So that's option number two, if they have enough money. And also, if Cleveland do believe that LeBron is going to be a good fit for the team. Because remember, they have Donovan Mitchell on the team. And I know he may not play with them next year, but as of now, James Harden is still on the Cavs.
Yeah, James Harden signed a 3-year extension, I believe, with the Cavs.
And
He
then
he,
you
op- he opted out of his player option and signed like a 3-year deal. And to your point with Austin, I have it pulled up. Austin Reeves signed a 4-year, $185 million veteran maximum extension with the Lakers.
so
He
that's going to be a
declined.
problem.
He declined the $14.9 million player option to accept the new deal.
So that's going to be a problem with the Lakers is the money situation, and then obviously the third option is what you just mentioned with the Golden State Warriors is the Warriors. Now, obviously, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a terrible move because if they do decide to get Anthony Davis, you're going to have to trade Jimmy Butler. Now, I've heard reports that they might trade Jimmy Butler's contract and put it on Washington and get Anthony Davis and do the sort of big four: Curry, James, AD, and Draymond.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, it's a terrible fit because of two, maybe three big reasons. Number one, if you average out the age of those four guys, the average age is about 36, 36 years old because, like you said, LeBron in December is turning 43. Anthony Davis is 33. Curry, I believe, is 38. And then Draymond, I believe, is 37. So
Yeah.
the average age is around 36, maybe even 37.
Your
So you,
youngest player in your starting lineup is probably going to be whoever the shooting guard is, which will probably be Brandon Przemski. And I know I butchered his name, but
so
that's your
that's
youngest player.
So that's number one. That's the biggest problem is the age. Number two, for the past 5 years since 2021, three out of those four guys have had injury histories because of their old age. Curry, LeBron, and Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis is a
They
walking hospital.
they all have a long injury history for these past 5 years. So
Yep.
that's going to be another problem as well if you put those four together with the Warriors. And also something that a lot of people are not going to think of. The third problem is the fit. Because here's the thing: it has been known for many years that Anthony Davis does not want to play the center position. But here's the thing: who is going to be the starting power forward? Draymond Green. So what's going to happen with Anthony Davis? He's going to have to play a position he doesn't want to play, center. Because we all know Draymond is not going to play center because he's going to be undersized. So he's going to have to stick to his true position, which is the power forward, because LeBron is probably going to be the small forward, and obviously Curry is going to be the point guard. So I think the fit is just not going to work, especially for Anthony Davis, because he's going to have to play a position he doesn't want to play.
Now, you mentioned AD with the center thing. So it was reported that Kristaps Porzingis did choose to stay with the Warriors this year. Now, this won't happen, but if it was to happen, let's say you don't trade Jimmy Butler. Let's say you trade Draymond, which won't happen because LeBron won't come. If Draymond is not on the team, LeBron ain't coming because him and LeBron are very close. But if you were to trade Draymond for AD, you could have Porzingis at center, AD at power forward, LeBron at the small forward, and then once he's healthy, because he's played the guard spot before, you could have Jimmy Butler be the 2 guard opposite Steph Curry. The problem is health. I don't know. We don't know when Jimmy Butler is going to be healthy, and we don't know when Jimmy Butler, when he comes back, is he going to be the Jimmy Butler that he was before he got hurt? My only thing with this is, and I want to say this, because I watched a video today where Stephen A. Smith was like so happy and saying that NBA fans should want this. And I did want this 10 years ago. I don't want it now. Because realistically, and I told you this, you look at the West. You've got the Spurs. They're not going anywhere. They'll probably get rid of De'Aaron Fox in like a trade or something because now they have faith and they know that Dylan Harper can play the guard spot and be that one. Okay, so they're not going anywhere. In fact, they're probably just getting younger. You have the Nuggets with Jokic that if Jamal Murray's healthy and Jokic is healthy, they're going to be dangerous. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are not going anywhere, and got a 3-point sharpshooter and Jared McCain in a trade from the 76ers last year. He's going to finally have a full season alongside Shea. You have the T-Wolves with Melo and Ant, which we'll get to in a little bit. And now, if you're thinking about it, you have to worry about the Suns with Devin Booker and Miles Bridges. And he was traded today, John Morant, who is a good point guard, teaming up with Damian Lillard, who's a sniper. Like that realistically, I look at the situation with LeBron and the possibility of him coming to Golden State, and I'm thinking maybe a 6th seed.
I don't know, man. It's just with all of these trades that happened the past few days, I don't even see the Warriors as number 6 because some team may surprise us in the West.
You know who I think it'll be? The Kings. The Kings are good.
I'm sorry, but even if they make this trade, because of the different things that we have mentioned, once again, they might have to fight in the play-in once again.
And here's the real this is just being honest. Let's say that let's say just for example, they do make the trade to get AD. Who's to say LeBron signs with them? LeBron may go, you know what? I want to have a retirement tour where my mom can come to every single game. She still lives in Akron, Ohio, I believe. Who's to say he doesn't just want to go play for the Cavs? Just have that hometown walk off in the sunset with his hometown team. The team he grew up rooting for, the team he played for to start his career, the team he went back to, despite the fans treating him like garbage for years, won them a championship. Then he goes to LA, wins a title there. And, or who's to say that somehow Miami doesn't find a way to get him and bring him back to, which with Giannis that wouldn't work anyway. But
I think that might. I think with since you just mentioned them, I think that might lead into our next topic. The first biggest domino effect in the offseason.
yes, and we are going to. I'm just going to say this one last thing about LeBron. Look, I love LeBron James. Now he's not my GOAT. Michael Jordan's my GOAT because if you go 6-0, win 6 straight if you win 6 championships, have 2 3-peats, and never lose in the finals, that makes you the GOAT. I know a lot here. I'm gonna say a hot take. I know a lot of people say Tom Brady's the GOAT. Tom Brady went 7-10 in Super Bowls. You know who never lost a Super Bowl? Joe Montana. He only won 4, but he never lost one.
And if you look at the stats,
I'm saying,
and if you look at the stats, and this is something that you cannot say about Tom Brady before we get into the next topic.
yeah,
Joe Montana threw 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
exactly.
That's literally saying in the Super Bowl he was perfect.
Exactly. So just in my opinion, if you win the biggest game in your sport and you never lose, and you win 4 of them, now. I'm not saying Eli's the GOAT, okay? Because Eli, he won 2. That doesn't count because I don't believe that I believe Michael Strahan won those championships, not Eli. But let's get into the next topic since we kind of mentioned it, we kind of leaned that way. Giannis to South Beach. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I thought going into that night when he was traded, I thought for sure he was going to be a Celtic. I was like, there's no shot. Miami, I didn't think Miami had enough to give up that they'd be willing to give up. Like, I really didn't. I didn't think they'd have. I knew they'd have enough to give up. I didn't think they'd be willing to give up what they gave up. I mean, they gave up everything. They gave up basically your entire core and your future draft picks for Giannis to play with Bam.
There's a positive and a negative. Obviously, the positive is who's going to go into the paint when you got Bam and Giannis? Because you're going to have to figure out, how you're going to go in the paint when those 2 guys are in the paint. So, obviously, that's a positive. That's a big positive.
Yeah.
But here's the negative. Who's their bench? Because Tyler Hero was in that trade to the Bucks. And like you said, they traded some draft picks. So now the question is, how long is this project going to be with Giannis in South Beach? Because here's the thing. After LeBron left, they had some years where they were near the bottom, but then everything started to rise up when Jimmy Butler went there. They went to 2 finals appearances, came up short in both of them, and they really started to go down again once Jimmy Butler left. So now they're saying we're trying to compete for a championship with Giannis. But the question is it enough? Because they don't have a bench and they don't have a true point guard to lead the team down the court. Defensively, you're going to be fine with Bam and Giannis. Your defense is probably going to be top 10 because of those 2 guys. But offensively, both like Giannis can't shoot. We know that. But he's going to dominate the paint and the mid-range. He's just not a true shooter. Bam has his nights. Like when he scored 83.
He had his night.
He had his night. But he's not a true jump shooter as well. So you're going to need a bench, and you're going to need some shooters around those 2 guys to have a chance to compete. Now, obviously, this upcoming season, there's 3, maybe 4 teams you're going to have to worry about this season. Obviously, you're going to have to worry about the champs, the New York Knicks. Then you're going to have to worry about Boston, whether or not they trade Jaylen Brown. Then you're going to have to worry about Cleveland.
Yep.
And then also, maybe, just maybe, depending on how they build around Cade Cunningham, Detroit as well. So you have about 3 to 4 teams you're going to have to worry about in this Eastern Conference. Now, they're probably going to be a top 6 team. I definitely see them as a top 6 team.
You can't forget Atlanta too. Atlanta's going to be a team this year.
But is it enough for Miami to compete for a title?
No.
We just have to wait and see.
And here's my thing. And we said it with LeBron and Steph and Trey, and it's the same thing with Giannis. Can he stay healthy? He hasn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has he had a healthy season since he won the championship?
From my recollection, probably not.
In 2021, they won the title, and it was the Giannis show. And then
he was hurt a little bit, but he did come back. And then in Game 6 against the Suns, he did drop 50.
Yeah, but again, though, I don't think he's had a full season since winning the title. So, my thing is this: if you're Miami, yeah, you went big fish hunting, and you got the big fish. Do not, and I do trust Pat Riley a little bit, and I do trust Eric Spoelstra. Do not let Miami become what Milwaukee became. Do not let Giannis be the sole point of your team and have nothing to help him out. Because again, Norman Powell is going to get paid by somebody. He ain't coming back. So y'all got to figure out, y'all got to trade for somebody. You got to figure, well, you can't actually. You have no trade assets. Except for Bam. Who, if you get rid of, Giannis may actually go into Pat Riley's office and Pat Riley may never be heard of again. I'm not, dude. You're laughing. If they trade Bam,
you might be
he
right.
may actually hurt Pat Riley.
You might be right about that one.
But, we were mentioning teams you have to worry about. There's one team that we thought maybe you'd have to worry about because of the dynamic backcourt that you no longer have to worry about because they're blowing everything up.
And this just happened. Now, to bring you guys up with what the Hornets is going through. So there's 2 big trades that we already mentioned. So Nick mentioned the first one. They traded Miles Bridges to the Phoenix Suns for Miles Bridges to pair with Devin Booker. And then the bigger one, in my opinion, I'm like,
it is
are
bigger.
You serious? LaMelo Ball was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Naz Reid and some picks. Now, here's the thing. The Hornets, from reports that I read, might still make some other trades because I heard in some reports they might try to get Jaylen Brown.
You know what I'd love? Hear me out. I would love this. The Hornets trade Concanepple to the Dallas Mavericks. Do it.
Who? For who?
A bag of chips. I don't care. Just do it.
Because here's the thing. You traded 2 of your best players. Now, you got some young guys.
Bro, they got Grayson Allen in the Suns trade. Come on.
Now, you got some young guys like Brandon Miller and maybe Naz Reid and then save you maybe have 1 or 2 more draft picks. You could maybe make a trade with the Celtics for Jaylen Brown. But there's one problem. The Celtics said that they want 4 first-round picks for Jaylen Brown. And as a Celtics fan, I know for doggone sure that is not happening. Because what team wants to trade their future for Jaylen Brown? So I just don't know what the Hornets are doing.
The Hornets.
So the Hornets, I just don't know. So are they rebuilding around Knipple and Miller? I mean, with Naz Reid being there, he may have a chance to start. With Naz Reid being there now, he might not have to be the 6-man no more. He could probably play the 4 or the 5 on that team and maybe run a small ball lineup.
Yeah.
But the question is, are you going to build around Knipple or Naz Reid, or are you trying to make one big move to maybe bring in a star like Jaylen Brown?
No, you're not wrong. And my other thing is this: when you're the Hornets, you had everything. I mean, everything. You finally got some value out of LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges was showing up for you. Brandon Miller was showing up for you. Colin Knipple is a 3-point magnet. And you trade it all away. I don't like, what are they doing in Charlotte? You finally had a team that I would watch, and you're blowing it up for what? I get it. Melo had one good year, and you don't know if he's going to have another good year. And in that good year, the idiot got into a wreck, and it was the whole thing. But not only did you do that, you sent him to Minnesota and you didn't get Ant. You sent him to Minnesota, and you get Naz Reid. No disrespect to Naz Reid, but if you came to me and said, I will give you Naz Reid for LaMelo Ball, and I'm Charlotte, I'm going, who in the fuck do you think you are? And LaMelo is going at least for a superstar. Give us Ant and we'll give you Melo. Like, that's, which wasn't going to happen because Ant's never going to. But
yeah.
But let's get into that, by the way, because that is our next topic.
I'm just going to flat out say it. I think with this trade, you still got Rudy. Now that 5. So you got LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels. I don't know who the 4 is going to be, but then Rudy Gobert. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a top 3 team right there. I think that's a top 3 right. The only teams I really see competing against Minnesota, that Minnesota is going to compete against, is obviously OKC and San Antonio. Yep. I just don't see any other teams that is better than Minnesota right now with that trade with Jaden McDaniels and still having Ant and still having Jaden McDaniels. And also, all 3 of those guys are under 30 years old. So that's going to be a problem. If you can keep LaMelo Ball's head straight, this team is going to be really, really exciting. And just by some luck, with LaMelo Ball leading the offense, taking some of the pressure off of Ant, where he could put that pressure on defense. Because we know Anthony Edwards can play good defense.
Yeah.
Then you still got 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. And then you still got a young guy in Jaden McDaniels. The sky is the limit for this team. And just like OKC, if they keep this core attached, this team, you could bring down the line 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 4 years, as long as if the money is right and everyone can stay healthy, especially LaMelo Ball. This is a team that you can build for the future with your top 3 guys under 30 years old.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. To your point with LaMelo, if you can just keep him, let's just be honest, keep him out of the Get him a driver. Get him somebody that can drive him around. Do not let him drive. I mean, this guy, I think he's been in like 6 wrecks since being in Charlotte, and he's done a hit and run in almost all of them. Just give him a driver. But also, I got to be honest, and I sent you the video. When LeVar reacted to it and him going, go get the other 2 ball boys, go get Lonzo, go get LeAngelo, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I love LeVar, dude. He is going to go to battle for his boys. LeAngelo doesn't even want to play basketball anymore, and he's like, go get him.
Lonzo wouldn't be a bad pickup if he's healthy enough. I don't think, and if he still wants to play, I don't think Lonzo would be a bad pickup, honestly, because remember Lonzo before he got hurt, Chicago was the Bulls were the #1 team in the East.
Yeah.
So if Lonzo is on the bench, he could be the backup point guard to his brother, LaMelo.
And here's my other thing, dude, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Ant gets double teamed a lot. You can't do that now. Because now you got a dude who is 6'7", who drives to the basket, and who can also catch and shoot. So, you know, I hate making this comparison because they were so great. But Melo and Ant could be a more physical version of Clay and Steph. You can't double team Steph because Clay's there. You can't double team Ant because LaMelo's there. You can't double team Clay because Steph's there. And you can't double team LaMelo because Ant's there. And both of them can shoot threes. Both of them can get physical to the basket. Like, this could be a version. If Minnesota is smart, the pick and roll game between these two is going to be incredible anyway. Because look at what LaMelo did. Because LaMelo's specialty is passing. Ant has never had an elite passer with him. He has that now.
If you count, I mean, Mike Conley is a good passer, but he's not elite.
He's not Melo. That's the thing. Melo, Melo's skill is passing. That's his best, and defense. People act like he can't play defense. He can play defense. He can get up on you, and from one end of the floor to the other, cover you, and keep you from scoring. He can do that. And now, he won't have to waste that much. His energy won't be wasted so much on offense because he's got Ant. He's going to be a better defender, and Ant the same way. Because they won't have to worry. Like, Ant's not going to be able to break through 2 guys to cover him because somebody's got to be on Melo. My only concern is Rudy Gobert.
I think he's still going to do his thing, and offensively, you know, just like you said with the pick and roll game, they might dish it to Rudy when he's in the paint. So
Yeah.
I think Rudy is still going to be good doing his thing, especially on the defensive side.
As long as he doesn't touch any microphones during press conferences, everything will be fine. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. The fact that this dude touched the microphones in the press conference, every one of them, and then the next day the league's like, oh, well, COVID-19, we got to shut down. And everybody blamed Rudy Gobert for that. You know I'm right. You know I'm right, bro. Everybody
you are right.
Bro, that man's still getting blamed 6 years later. If it wasn't for you, the NBA wouldn't have shut down, and maybe LeBron didn't have a 4th ring.
It would have shut down anyway. But
I know, but people just like to blame him, and I like Rudy Gobert. He's a good player.
Well, not everyone likes him unless your name is Shaq.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this that happened today. Ja Morant traded to Portland. What was your reaction when you saw this?
Obviously, now with remember 3 years ago, their core of Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then Ja Morant, and then also Desmond Bane. Now all of those 4 guys are gone. now Minnesota is looking to rebuild
You mean Memphis?
because yeah, no, yeah, Memphis. Yeah, I say Memphis.
Yeah.
Memphis is now on the rebuild because it just did not work when those guys were there. I mean, I vividly remember that playoff series against the Lakers when they probably should have won that series. They lost it, and then remember that was the series when Dylan Brooks said, "I like to poke bears," talking about LeBron, and
He's
that
so
season,
stupid.
and then that the season later, the Memphis Grizzlies said Dylan Brooks is not coming back in quotations under any circumstances.
You know my favorite? I remember him doing that, and I remember LeBron punking him as well. You know my favorite part of that was when LeBron was asked about it. He just laughed. He's like, "Hey, all right, cool."
I knew that the team was downhill after that series because
Here's the thing.
Dylan Brooks got cut. Then you trade Desmond Bain to the Magic. Then you trade Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz.
That poor boy.
Now you trade Ja to Portland to pair him up with a hopefully healthy Damian Lillard. So obviously Memphis is on the rebuild because I don't even know who's on that team, and a lot of players are not going to want to go to Memphis because they are a small market.
Cameron Boozer, he got drafted to Memphis.
So you got Cameron Boozer, so you got him.
He's your new face.
Yeah, he's going to be the new face of the league, and obviously he has some wisdom from his father, former NBA player Carlos Boozer. But
who's the center for the Grizzlies?
After Jaren
Zach Edey.
That's right. So you could build around those two guys, but besides those two guys, you're really not going to make any noise in the West with a tough West. Now, in regards to Ja, if he could keep the guns down in Portland, then I think he'll be fine. I mean, Portland doesn't really have anything like what's in Oregon. So really, I don't think he'll have those same problems in Portland. And then if Damian Lillard is healthy, then you're going to have a veteran who could take you under his wing. Are they going to make the playoffs? No. But is this a reset for Ja Morant? Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit. Might have something here on our next subject we're about to get into. If I can get it pulled up. Okay, so Shams Charania of ESPN. Shams on Kawhi Leonard trade talks. Those talks are continuing. They're serious between the Clippers and Raptors. We'll see how the conversation goes for the next few hours, potentially into tomorrow, but all signs point to these two sides being motivated. Kawhi Leonard's tenure is nearing its end in LA. So let's get into that because that is our last topic of the night. Okay, so I just read you what Shams said on SportsCenter. What
This is not 2019 Toronto.
Right.
Because once again, now Kawhi, he's still a good player when healthy.
That's the other thing, bro. That's another one. That motherfucker is never. Here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you right now. This is one thing I agree with Stephen A. Smith on. There's a lot I don't. This one thing I do. Kawhi Leonard is the best person at stealing money outside of Ben Simmons.
And Paul George.
Because that motherfucker is never healthy.
Because here's the thing. You ruined the franchise by trading all those draft picks for Paul George.
And shit. And Shea. Remember, he was like, I don't
Shea
want to
was in
stay
that
on the
draft.
team.
And then you trade more picks for James Harden. and that big three just did not work.
Here's
And
what's
then
sad.
Paul George goes to Philly, steals more money from Philly, and Kawhi is still good, but the biggest problem is he can't stay healthy. Now, is he still a top player all time? Yes. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP. I personally think he's a top 5 small forward of all time, even though majority of his career he hasn't been healthy. But I just don't think it's going to work because I think Toronto has a bright future, with Scotty Barnes. I don't think they need Kawhi Leonard. And if they're trying to do this to, bring back 2019, guys, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Okay. I will say this when it comes to Kawhi. I still think Kawhi, when healthy, is a top 10 player in the league. When he's healthy. He's that good.
15 or 20. I'll give him 20, not 10.
Okay. You look at let's just look at Kawhi signing with the Clippers. No championship in 6 years.
Nope.
Forced the Clippers to trade away the franchise, including the young superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for an aging Paul George who wasn't healthy. Forced them to trade for James Harden. What happened over the last 2 years? Paul George goes, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to Philadelphia. James Harden gets traded for Darius Garland, thinking, okay, we'll put Kawhi with Garland. Maybe that'll work. That didn't work. This may go down. Like, the Luka trade will go down as the worst trade in NBA history.
Yes.
This may go like second as like one of the worst signings in NBA history. Now, here's the catch. And this is the reason it's like Toronto's the only team he'll go to. He said the only 2 teams that he would consider long-term deals with, signing extensions with, is Toronto and San Antonio. Well, I hate to tell you this, Kawhi Leonard, San Antonio just made it to the finals with the youngest core in the NBA. There is no way in hell they are trading any of those pieces for you. It ain't happening. They may get rid of De'Aaron Fox because of how good the rest of the players that are young are. The average age on San Antonio is 25. I'm not kidding. That's like their average age. 25. They're not going anywhere. They're getting rid of none of their players. They are staying put. They may add some assets in free agency tomorrow, which if they do, God help us if they get Victor Wembanyama, another center that can spell for him, that's just as physical, and that doesn't mind getting beat up. Because if they can save Wemby from getting beat up in late minutes, it may be over. My thing is this with Kawhi. And I'm going to say this very nicely. As nicely as I can. I have not cared about Kawhi Leonard as a basketball player since 2019. I have not worried about him as a basketball player since 2019. You know why I worried about him in 2019? Because they were playing the Warriors. I have not worried about him since then. And also, if he goes to Toronto, who are they going to have to give up? Because the Clippers are not just going to go player for player. They're going to want draft capital. Because they've got to fix the mess that Kawhi made. What?
They gotta fix the mess that Paul George made too, because they traded their entire future for Paul George, and OKC is still reaping the
I don't
benefits.
I don't blame Paul George for that. I blame Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi made them trade Shea and all those picks for Paul George because he said, I don't want to play with Shea. Which, by the way, hey, Kawhi, 6 years later, looking back on it, you sure you don't want to play with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? He kind of the face of the league. He's the back-to-back MVP. Probably going to three-peat as MVP. You sure you don't want to take that back and go play with Shea? I mean, Oklahoma City doesn't need you, but, you know. My thing is this. There's one thing I'll say. Look, there is one thing the Clippers got out of Kawhi Leonard in 6 years. One good thing. They got a new arena. That is beautiful. That's it. Like, honestly, dude, tell me what else they got.
They got only one out of the 6 years with Kawhi. They only have one conference finals appearance. And he didn't even play that series because he was hurt in 2021.
And James Harden fell apart. Oh, that's another thing. Hey, Cleveland. Because I believe, I'm going to look it up to make sure. But I believe Cleveland paid James Harden a 3-year deal.
Now, he made the conference finals for the first time since 2018, but yeah, my last thing I got to say with Kawhi is, you know, with the team building around Scotty Barnes, like, you got a young team that you could possibly make the playoffs with since they did make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But do you really want to build your future around him?
No. If you're asking me, it's a no. I will say this. Kawhi to the Raptors doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. But you know what does make sense and what everybody should do right now? Go to elephant-inc.store for official Nick Beasley Show merch. And make sure to follow the show on all social media platforms. You guys can see it at the bottom of the ticker there. But if you are on Spotify and you can't see it, follow the Nick Beasley Show on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like this video, comment, let us know your thoughts on everything we talked about tonight, the NBA special we're doing here. And make sure to follow me and the show on all social media platforms at Nick Beasley Show on Instagram, at Nick BE Show on Twitter, and at Nick Beasley Show on TikTok. Also, guys, my Patreon, Nick Beasley Sports, where I write articles. I will be writing an article on whatever team LeBron signs to. A pretty in-depth article. I may be writing an article about his retirement and enjoying his career. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Rodney, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on, man.
Yes, so you can follow me on my YouTube, RJK Forever 4, my TikTok, RJK Forever 4, and my Instagram, RJK _ Forever 2.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Again, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Spotify and listening to this, make sure to leave us a star rating. Any rating will be helpful. I would like to know kind of where we range as far as how you guys like us on a podcast. Hopefully, Rodney will be coming back on for more stuff throughout the summer. And, guys, when we get to the NFL season, I will be streaming more and more. I will stream primetime games, and I will probably try to stream at least one game every Sunday. Probably going to, during the day, probably going to be like the 3 o'clock games on CBS or Fox. And for anybody watching that wants to know anything upcoming, tomorrow night, 8:40 p.m. Central Time, 9:40 Eastern, I will be live streaming on TikTok and on YouTube the Dodgers versus the Athletics game on ESPN Unlimited. So make sure to come check that out. And love y'all. Thank y'all. Bye.